You're listening to Alcoholics Alive, where recovered members of Alcoholics Anonymous share their experience on how they live AA as a way of life. None of our participants get paid or speak for AA. Here are your hosts, Shank and Wayne. Shank, I'm disappointed that we scrapped all three shrapnels last week with Otis.
Are you though?
Well, the one, me and my recovery. I mean, I think we should have kept that.
Everything is about you
Yes, I mean
and
my
your recovery.
my recovery is the most important, right? If anybody's going to relapse, I hope it's y'all, not me.
I think there's some shrapnel relating to that somewhere.
I'm sure there is. Listen, we are notorious for scrapping shrapnel or scrapping slogans. So if you're out there and you got any that you want to send us, send it to freedom@alcoholicsalive.com or hit us up on the gram, TikTok, Facebook, Alcoholics Alive. We will we'll add it to our list and bring it up. We're excited to have our guest on straight from the eastern shore of North Carolina. I just made that up. It's not a term we use in North Carolina,
That's good.
but I kind of like it. Amy, how are you?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
Doing well, doing well. We're glad that you were able to join us. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Awesome. Thanks for having me on. Let's see, I'm an alcoholic, and my sobriety date is January 16th of 2004. Got a home group here in Wilmington, or the Eastern Shore of North Carolina. It's a Turning Point women's meeting, meets every Wednesday night at 6:30, and the second Wednesday of the month. Each month we do a tradition study, so really grounded in the traditions, which is awesome. And yeah, got a sponsor women, try to do the deal.
Cool. Tell us a little bit how you got to AA.
How did I get to AA?
Well, hold on now. First, so congratulations on 20 years of sobriety.
Thank you. Thank you.
I heard that right. So
Pretty
you just
awesome.
celebrated 20 years?
I did. Yeah, just a few weeks ago. Who knew? Who'd have thunk
That's
it?
not me.
Exactly. Me
yeah.
neither. I mean, man, if I can get there, then anybody can get there. Yeah. It's kind of crazy. It's like I've reached that point where I've been sober longer than I drank,
Yeah.
It's that whole, this is the normal, and that's not, which is weird. But
Yeah,
no,
pretty soon, you know what's next?
What?
You're going to have somebody sponsor that says, you got sober before I was alive.
Oh, no. That's going to happen.
That's the worst. I hear that crap every day just about. It's aggravating.
I mean, I got plenty of, you're old enough to be my mom's going on at work.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We'll send you a virtual chip, Amy.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay. All right.
Um,
So finish. I interrupted you.
No, you're good. So no, I mean, I came crawling in here around 2003. It's like my last drink. If I knew it was going to be my last drink, it would have been a lot more memorable, but it was really, I'd been coming around to AA for about 9 months, and I had a sponsor, but I was drinking. I was going to meetings, but I was drinking after every meeting, and I was picking up white chips, and then I'd drink, and then I'd lie. And I was just this whole mishmash of just not being able to get honest with, the fact that I was an alcoholic with myself, mainly, and with others. But, that last drink was a night before I went to a brunch with my then sponsor, who had like 15 sponsees at the time. She was a crazy idiot, and just she was crazy. She had 15 sponsees, and she had this brunch for all of her sponsees because it was her anniversary, was right around when I got sober.
Oh, yeah.
And so we have this big brunch, and she tells me, I'm riding with her, of course, because I have no car. I'm riding with her to this brunch that's going to be a meeting, and she tells me on the way over that we're going to have a meeting at this brunch, and the topic is going to be, what spiritual principle have you practiced the most over the course of the past year? And I'm like, oh no, I am so screwed because I haven't practiced any. I don't even know what they are, much less have I
Right.
practiced any of them. And so we get to this brunch, and it comes to me, and the only thing that I could say at that moment, that was my moment of I got honest and said, I drank again. I had just drank 2 days prior, and I got honest with this group of women, and they surrounded me and swarmed me just like they have continued to do in all the 20 years that I've been sober. And that was my turning point, was getting honest with that group of women. And then a couple days later, my sponsor at the time, she was really good friends with a man named Mike Way, who lived here in Wilmington, who had been sober since God. To me, anybody over 30 days had been sober since God, but he'd been sober for many, many, many years.
Yeah.
And he was in hospice, and we went to visit him that night after our home group, after I picked up what I didn't know then was my last white chip. But we went to visit Mike in hospice, and he ended up passing away with us in the room that night. And here I was, this little drunk who couldn't stay sober more than 24, 48 hours. And he passed away, and it was one of those, it was a spiritual moment. Like, I felt the love that was in the room, of his daughters that were in there, of my sponsor. And it was one of those, like, that man literally left this world doing 12-step work, because I haven't had a drink since. It's like,
Hmm.
it was pretty amazing. So yeah, so that was when I stuck and stayed.
That- Stuck and stayed, huh? Mike Way,
Mike
12
Way.
steps you right into it. How about that?
Yeah.
That's pretty powerful. Well,
Yeah.
thanks for sharing that with us. I think if my sponsor tried to take me to a brunch, number one, I wouldn't have known what a brunch was. I don't think,
Do you
but
now?
barely. Uh, Funny, Shank.
Mm.
What is brunch? We don't need to go there. What's our topic? That's a better question.
Our topic today is tradition 6. So I'll read the long form here, and it is long. Problems of money, property, and authority may easily divert us from our primary spiritual aim. We think, therefore, that any considerable property of genuine use to AA should be separately incorporated and managed, thus dividing the material from the spiritual. An AA group as such should never go into business. Secondary aids to AA, such as clubs or hospitals, which require much property or administration, ought to be incorporated and so set apart that, if necessary, they can be freely discarded by the groups. Hence, such facilities ought not to use the AA name. Their management ought be the sole responsibility of those people who financially support them. For clubs, AA managers are usually preferred, but hospitals, as well as other places of recuperation, ought to be well outside AA, medically supervised. While an AA group may cooperate with anyone, such cooperation ought never go as far as affiliation or endorsement, actual or implied. An AA group can bind itself to no one. And the short form says, an AA group ought never endorse, finance, or lend the AA name to any related facility or outside enterprise, lest problems of money, property, and prestige divert us from our primary purpose.
Okay.
So with that, I ask both of you, should my fellow group members and I go out and raise money to endow several AA beds in our local hospital? What do you think, Amy?
No.
That's how simple that
Okay.
is, I
No,
guess.
nope, shouldn't do it. No. Yeah, I mean, it's like, I don't have experience actually going out and trying to raise money to endow some AA beds in my local hospital. But I mean, if I'm reading the tradition and interpreting it correctly, it's to do that as AA is to affiliate AA with that hospital. And so, no.
Jerry?
Well, I was a member of a group in Ohio that had I know told some of this before. They had like $8,000 in their treasury now, and they had the same treasurer for a long time. And when I joined the group and got involved and found out about all that, we ended up I ended up putting my wisdom on them and told them that they needed to get rid of the money, and that was
Oh,
a joke.
good.
That was a joke. Um, but when they decided that they were going to go ahead and try to disperse the money, there were several members of the group that actually wanted to pay rent at this halfway house for like new members.
Mm,
That's an actual real life, like
mhm.
in the last 15 years, like scenario where AA members thought that was okay. So that's not exactly what this question's asking, but it was a similar situation where, and people thought it was a great idea. Yeah, we're going to pay for bids in for rent in this halfway house, and we'll let people stay there. And it sounds good, but it's not in the spirit of this tradition. So,
Yeah, and that's what
So
I think
did the
about.
per
It's go ahead.
did the person who suggested that own the halfway house?
so that's a very good question, and they may have been some kind of part owner, and I don't know, but I never thought about that. You got that devious mind. That's how you thought about that
I
quick.
know.
But yeah, it's funny when you say like no matter how good the intention, it's like it could sound good on the surface, but like I
Yeah,
think our job is to dig deeper, and really look into like what's really being asked here and where is the money really going kind of thing.
yeah, yeah. And could you imagine? So if you think about it, let's say we did it, then you start arguing over who's going to stay there, or what do you got to do to get the bed or to get the room, and then
Hmm.
that's when people start arguing and they start debating over what to do with the space, and we forget to help alcoholics.
Yeah.
You get
And like
diverted.
that first question I was thinking about just, because it asked my fellow group members and it's like, okay, if I want to run out and try to raise some money and help the hospital put in a bed for recovery, I can do that as
Yep.
long as I'm not out there saying, hey, we're putting an AA bed in this hospital and I'm from Turning Point AA group. But I got every
Yep.
right to run out there and raise money for a noble cause that I choose to
Absolutely.
pursue.
Yep. Yep. And I think there's a lot of early experience with stuff like this. I mean, AA tried, there were groups and members that tried to have detoxes and,
Hmm.
kind of little mini treatment centers and recovery houses. And every time that became more important than actually helping alcoholics. And it's just a huge diversion,
It is, and that,
distraction. Yeah.
yeah. And I was reading something the other day. It's like we've got enough to do inside of AA to focus on than to worry about all these other things, regardless of how good intentioned it may be. We have plenty of work to do here. There's plenty of alcoholics that we haven't reached yet that need the primary message of recovery, not whether or not I'm going to have a bed in the hospital kind of thing.
Yeah. Good point. What's next, Shank?
Our next question. Are all the officers and members of our local club for AAs familiar with the quote guidelines on clubs, which is available free from GSO?
I'll say down here on the Eastern Shore, probably not, but maybe more now. And what I'll tell you, probably about 10 years ago, 10 or 15 years, I can't remember now, but it's been several years ago. We, a local like nonprofit company organization wanted to build a fellowship center because previously our intergroup building had AA meetings in it.
Oh, yeah.
And they wanted to kind of separate the AA meetings from the intergroup. And so
Wow.
this, great nonprofit organization was formed to build the fellowship center. And
I
everybody's like, yeah,
remember this.
it's a great idea. It was great. But what ended up happening was they get into building this beautiful building, and apparently there was like some coding issues, some legal coding issues that it was going to cost more than what they had originally anticipated, like $30,000 more of cost than what they had planned. So at that time, Intergroup and this nonprofit organization were very tightly coupled. And so when they realized they needed 30 grand, the intergroup got involved and sent out in our newsletter asking the groups to help fund the
Oh,
additional $30,000, literally asking for contributions from the groups. And so I say that no, they obviously weren't aware of the guidelines on clubs. But yeah, it was just this really enmeshed, nasty. They ended up getting the money. Now, my home group didn't. We stopped contributing to intergroup for a long period of time, as did many other home groups, because that's kind of our. We have the power of the purse. That's how we can, not retaliate. That's how we can influence.
yeah. Right.
And so that's what we did, and I know a number of other groups did too. But they got the money. And it's fine now. I mean, now it's the fellowship center is separate from the intergroup. Meetings meet there. They pay the rent to the, fellowship center organization. It's very sticky sometimes. And I don't think enough people are aware. And that's where we have to come in. And yeah, there's no AA police. However, there are guardians of these traditions. And as a
Yeah.
guardian of this tradition, the traditions, and as a guardian of this thing that saved my life, I have a responsibility to kind of educate folks, not control, but educate.
Inform them.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. That's part of the
And
problem with a lot of that stuff is people are just uninformed.
it is.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah. I mean, 'cause then for the longest time, it's people referred to the fellowship center as the intergroup, like they're seen as one and the same. And it really has taken a really long time to decouple those two things. And I still don't think they're completely just, decoupled in a lot of people's minds, but the people that I talk to, they are, the people the other people I know who are, informers
Yeah.
inform. So
It's a great example. It really speaks right to the first sentence in the long form. Problems of money, property, and authority may easily divert us from our primary spiritual aim. So we get so caught up in that case, and the property and the building and the raising the money for it that people are they're more involved in that than they are just helping another alcoholic.
yeah.
I would say that around here, Shank, that I don't know the answer to the question. I can tell you what it looks like to me is that they are not familiar with guidelines on clubs or intergroups, but maybe they are.
Well, I thought I was until I looked at it recently and realized it had been revised in 2022. So if you haven't looked at the AA guidelines, that is now called Relationship Between AA and Clubs. It has some revisions, so maybe stay up to date on that. Look at it every day. I don't know when they update this stuff.
Yeah, yeah. And just so you know, we're going to work with some officers and some committee members at GSO to figure out the communication on when they actually change the guidelines. And we used to get communications when there was changes to even service material. I mean, you always get it when there's a change to a conference approved literature. But on some of that service material, they used to let you know. I don't know. I haven't been told, but there's a revision in that one that needs to be looked at because it specifically talks about COVID-19, which seems to be an outside issue to me. But anyway, let's move on, Shank. I don't want to go down that path tonight.
All right, our third question. It says, some alcoholics will stay around AA only if we have a TV and a card room. If this is what is required to carry the message to them, should we have these facilities? And so in order to update this to our current 2024 standards, I just really don't believe that a TV and a card room would cut it. So for you all, I wanted to update it to maybe a smart TV and a Spotify account, or
TikTok.
an iPad and a TikTok account. maybe
Yes.
an Xbox
Yes.
and a headset controller.
Love it.
If that is what is required to carry the message, should we have these?
So I know that is when I got sober, when I thought that I needed all of these things in order to get sober, I didn't stay sober. You know what I mean? It was only
Hmm.
until everything was stripped away and I was just in a state of desperate hopelessness that I was able to hear the message. And I didn't care if there was a TV and I didn't care if there was TikTok or I didn't have a damn iPhone. I didn't have anything, I didn't have any of the things. So it's like, to me, AA should not be, no, we don't provide this stuff. We provide a meeting space, that's it. We provide a room where one drunk can talk to another drunk and relay the message. And that's all we need. And if they have to have a TV and a card room, then they're not ready. And
Hmm.
if I feel like I want to have those things as an AA member, I can go and have people over to my house to play cards and watch TV at my house.
You could.
I could.
Yeah. What is the book? The big book says that um, if a guy's clamoring for material or money or a job, then he's not ready. That's not
Mhm.
exactly what it says. And then it says money, job, no job, wife or no wife. That if you start putting demands on your sobriety or that you say that you got to have this or that to stay sober, you're probably not ready.
Yeah.
So I think that kind of ties in with that question. I can tell you this, I have been to meetings around the country. I don't do it anymore, but when I traveled a lot, I would go a lot of times the clubhouse was the only meeting you could like get. And I've two examples. One was in California and one was in Pennsylvania. I went into the clubhouse in Pennsylvania and I walked in and there was a TV on and there were I think there was four, probably five guys at a table playing cards and they never acknowledged me.
Mm.
Now, I will say this, the I got there a little early before the meeting started and people did start filtering in and people did talk to me, but those guys at the table playing cards never acknowledged me the whole time. They were more involved in their card game, and I think they might have been watching some reruns of Dukes of Hazzard or something on the
What
on the
what meeting was
TV.
it? We may have a listener up there. We can see what's happening. Name the meeting.
It was in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. I don't know. I don't remember the name of the meeting. Um, and I have been to some clubhouses where they have the pool tables and the foosball tables and the card games and I mean I think the original premise behind that is to get people there and give them a safe space and to maybe do things in between meetings and stuff like that. So it's probably well intended, but a lot of times it it doesn't serve the intended purpose. I don't think. I mean, maybe it does for some people. But to demand that or to think you have to have that to get sober, that I don't think that works for anybody.
Yeah. And there's always going to be something that somebody wants. You know what I mean? It could be different for
Yeah.
everybody. Maybe I won't stay sober unless there's underwater basket weaving there. I won't stay sober unless there's yoga. Like there's always going to be something, but
Yes.
that's not the
Yep.
primary purpose.
No, I
Uh,
wanted my wife and a car back.
yeah.
I didn't have either,
Mhm.
and I didn't get
I,
either. I stayed sober.
sometimes I didn't even have a book.
Yeah.
So I think
Yeah.
like what is required to carry the message for me at times was just my personal experience
Hmm.
because that's all I had.
Mhm.
The way that I really understand tradition 6, other than I guess when I had someone that I was helping made a meeting at a club, her home group, and she was like, I have to pay like $150. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, what are they doing over there? And it was to be a board member at the club. And I still don't completely understand what all that is about. Um, but that is an instance where I was like, make any other meeting anywhere other than that place your home group, because I don't even know how to deal with that. But the way that I understand this today has just been through experience of taking meetings into the prison, because those women a lot of times don't have experience and going to an AA meeting outside of that facility, and maybe they never will. And I've said this several times on this podcast, I think, but it's very important. Some of the ladies that have gone in with me over the years don't agree, but to me, it's very important to make sure they know, like, we are not employees of this facility. We are volunteers, and we are only bringing in an AA meeting. Like, I'm not here to talk about your girlfriend or what's going on the grounds or who you're mad at today, or, I mean, the news station that was here or the governor came through or whatever. Like, that's not why we're here. Because they do kind of sometimes get this idea because of the facility that it's a class, and that
You're an
AA
instructor.
is somehow
Mhm.
affiliated with the prison.
Yeah.
When we started a new meeting there in the last several years, it was, oh, we want this to be the NCCIW Freedom Group, the name of the prison. And I remember thinking like, that just doesn't sound right. And then of course going and talking to my sponsor, she was like, well, yeah, that's implying affiliation with that facility. Like,
Mhm.
you don't want to do that. And I'm sure that we did like some really long drawn out study of Tradition 6. I wasn't interested in it at that time. I was like, if you say not to do it, I'm not going to do it. And I'm probably going to tell them it's Tradition 6 and we'll talk about it in the 6th month and I'll figure it out before then. But those are the experience, like the real life experiences I think that I have with those are kind of that implied affiliation with AA somehow.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of wisdom in this tradition about sticking to the primary purpose of just one alcoholic helping another and not getting diverted by, money or property or authority. I think that there's a lot of utility in your personal life too of not letting um we got to change the shrapnel shank. What's that saying? AA will give you a life that'll take you away from AA. That
Yes.
should be the shrapnel. That ties right into this tradition because
Hmm.
in my personal life, it's important for me to not let material stuff and activity and uh, you know authority or prestige in my life stop me from growing spiritually and trying to help other people. And sometimes life can get so busy and you get involved in other stuff that it could be easy to stop doing certain spiritual activities and taking simple actions in Alcoholics Anonymous. So I think it's kind of a guard against that. Um, and I mean, you grow spiritually, and your life gets good, and things do change. But um, it's important to keep growing spiritually and not let that stuff get in the way of it.
Absolutely. I love that you brought it back to the personal part because I remember early on, one of the first sponsors I went through the traditions with, she's like, these apply to you can apply all the traditions directly to your life. And I'm going, how? And she had me replace where it said AA, replace my name with it.
Yeah.
So, Amy ought never endorse, finance, or lend the AA name to any really, but to apply it to me personally, like that actually, because I love money and I love power and I love prestige
Yeah,
and I
sure.
love being in a position of authority. I don't like authority being done to me, but I like being in a position of authority. Those are the things, my defects
Hmm.
thrive. Those are the things that my defects are made of. So it's kind of like that, a little bit of correlation to the 6th step as well, almost. It's like keeping
Hmm.
those defects, personally keeping those defects in check so that I'm remembering that, yep, I have a primary purpose, and that's to help another sick and suffering alcoholic. Everything else is secondary. The clamoring for money can get in the way, and it can get really loud, right? It's like I took a long, went back to school and focused on my career for a while, and did step back a little bit from sponsorship and those things, and I could feel the spiritual effect of that,
Mhm.
and that's not to say that it was, power hungry or money mad, but it was still like the focus was off just enough to notice. And I
Yeah.
think that, bringing it back to the personal aspect of the traditions, like I can apply all of them in my life.
Hmm.
When it says too in Language of the Heart, and this was written in May 1948, it says, "We explain this easily enough. We don't need money." Talking about AA, I mean, of course,
Yes.
personally, we need money, but it says the core of our AA procedure is one alcoholic talking to another, whether that be sitting on a curbstone, in a home, or at a meeting. It's the message, not the place. It's the talk, not the
Mm.
aims. So,
Mm.
that just kind of brings it down to even with family or friends or whomever, like when I am trying to not necessarily be flashy, but sometimes with my family who never believed I was an alcoholic to begin with because their drinking was similar to mine probably, and who still think it's crazy that, years later I'm still attending AA meetings and I'm active. And, sometimes I will try to just show them, well, I'm doing better now though. Like, look at all this stuff. Look at my life. Look at what's going on here. Um, and I'm glad that this kind of brings it back down to, hey, I can just talk to my family. Like, I don't have to rent out a whole beach house for everyone and be like, look at all this amazing stuff. Like it can just be like, I can have a conversation and be a daughter by picking up the phone sometimes. It doesn't have to be like some kind of
Mhm.
outlandish situation
Yeah.
because I get money insecure. I mean, I will save every single dollar. I will squeeze a nickel as much as I can.
Mm. Amy, you gonna read something there?
Oh, well, no, it was funny. I had the exact that I was getting ready to read,
Oh yeah.
but Susie had
Beat you to it.
Susie
Shank.
beat you to you. Yeah, it doesn't take much to help another alcoholic.
No, it really
Just
doesn't.
no, just your heart and and some honesty and your experience. The other stuff can get in the way.
Oh.
Yeah. Shank, you want to move on to meeting shrapnel?
Here we go. Meeting shrapnel. This is our segment of lore, myth, and sayings frequently heard in AA.
All right, Amy, buckle up.
I'm buckled.
Our meeting shrapnel number 1 is stick and stay. What do y'all think about that one?
What the hell is that?
Where does it come from?
Yeah, who says that?
A lot of people around here. It's more of like the, after you say the Lord's Prayer or the Wee version of the, and people like do the hand things.
The
They
chant.
like yank your
chant,
hands
"Stick
down
and
and they
stay,
chant.
stick and stay."
Yeah, something similar to that.
Stick and stay. Well, so they used to say, keep coming back. It works if you work it, right? Or I
Yeah.
guess a lot of places still say that. And then a guy from North Carolina, Wallace, I think he's the one that started like, hey,
Just stay.
yeah, don't keep coming back. Just stay,
Stay.
Uh-huh.
right? If you just stay, you don't have to keep coming back. And now stick and stay. I think did somebody text this to us?
I think so.
Oh,
I think this was
yeah.
a listener contribution.
Listener contribution.
I mean, is it like a stick with the winners day?
Maybe.
Like a
Yeah.
mashup of a bunch of different stuff.
I
Yeah.
like the mashup concept. That's exactly
The
might be what
mashup.
it is. Yeah, I like a good mashup. Yeah, yeah. I don't know, Amy.
Do you want to
Stick
keep it or
and-
Do I
scrap
get to
it?
call it?
Yeah,
Stick
keep
and
it or scrap
stay.
it.
Oh, scrap that thing.
Yes.
Oh, scrap that. Come on.
Jerry, you
I'm
want to
s-
keep it or scrap it?
I'm scrapping it.
All right, it's out of here.
All right.
Our meeting shrapnel number 2. I didn't get into trouble every time I drank, but every time I got in trouble, I was drinking.
That's the damn truth. I'm gonna go.
Are you going to start using it now? You're like, wait
I
a minute,
like
that sounds
that
pretty good.
Yeah, I don't think that's a bad one. That one doesn't bother me. Does that bother you guys?
Well, it's just not true for me. So
Every time. Yeah. You get
because
in trouble without drinking
oh hell yeah.
all the time.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I've never understood. And even in AA, a lot of people will associate their drinking with trouble, or they always got all their trouble was associated with drinking. That's not true for me. I mean, that's so far, and I know it's true for some people. I'm not saying that's not true for some people. I mean, like Shank never got in trouble, and she got in trouble one time and went to prison. So everybody has their own experience. But I got in a lot of trouble sober. I'm just a chaotic, rebellious dude, and I mean, I didn't have to drink to get into trouble.
No, I didn't either. Now I can get into trouble, but most of the big trouble was when I was drinking. That's when I was getting arrested, and that's when I was, breaking bones, and that's when all that stuff I wasn't doing when I wasn't drinking. Now I would do, like, when I was a kid, do stupid stuff, and but I kind of like this one.
All right, well,
You
some of the most brutal fights I got in, I was stone cold
Done
sober.
Oof.
I shoplifted sober. I stole vehicles sober. I shot up a few houses sober.
I guess it depends on what trouble is too. Is that legal trouble? Is that emotional trouble? Is that
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, it's
he does.
I'm sure it's actually very factual for some people. Yeah, just not me. I mean,
are you going to keep it or scrap it?
I've gotten in a lot of trouble sober.
Well, so have I.
See,
Now that I'm
Amy?
thinking about it, do I gotta
like,
tell
wait a
you all
minute,
the
wait a
things
minute,
that
wait a
I've
minute.
done?
I'm talking her out of it, Shane.
Oh, no. Oh, we might need to get rid of this one.
It's kind of like that one. It's my least favorite one. That my worst day sober is better than my best day drinking.
Mhm.
That damn
Not
sure
true.
ain't true for me.
Not
but
true. Had some crap
Anyway.
days sober and some good days drunk.
Yes. Amy, what are you gonna do with it? Keep it or scrap it?
Oh,
Don't let
God.
me influence you.
Well, the more I think about it,
It's
it
trash.
isn't as true. But when I would hear this in meetings, when I was getting sober, like I would hear this in meetings, it really drove home. I was drinking every time I got into the big ones that got me sober. So I think I keep it. I think I keep it just for that reason. And try not to think
Okay.
about it too hard.
Okay. But we might
Jerry,
have to keep.
you keeping or scrapping?
This one might stay. I'm scrapping it, but I got
Oh.
a sense that you might take it.
I'm
might keep
scrapping it.
Huh?
All right.
I'm scrapping it. It's out of
All
here.
right. All right, Shank. What's next?
All right. Our third meeting shrapnel is I'm just a garden variety drunk.
Just another bozo on the bus.
I'm just a
Amy.
bozo on the bus.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I don't think I've ever said either one of those things.
Oh.
Yeah. No. I mean,
What
I
is-
am a garden variety drunk now. Don't get me wrong, but
What's Shank? Maybe we should Google garden variety. I mean,
I
what
did.
does-
See, I knew we
I
were
think
going to
I
run
did.
into this. So
What's-
it's ordinary, common, unexceptional. So you're just a common drunk.
No, that's not me. That's not any of us.
But more, well, no, but when you're talking about like, in context of, what I did was no better, no worse than what any of y'all did. I'm just a garden variety drunk.
I know that's what it means, Amy. Thanks for bringing me down. But still,
Josh.
why would you say it? It's kind of like saying you're a grateful recovering alcoholic. It's just unnecessary.
Well, I know that I have heard it
Just-
from someone who says it because she just like, I mean, she got through medical school, she did all this stuff, and she's like, I just drank too much. So like, she doesn't like to speak at meetings, and I'm like, that's why it's important. Like, a lot of
Mhm.
people don't go to prison, don't get pulled over. Like, a lot of people just are alcoholics
Mhm.
because of their drinking, and
They don't have the circumstances that some did.
well, right. And consequences
Right.
and circumstances don't get you sober anyway. It sounds like they do sometimes, but I know that's why she says it. She's just like, well, I mean, I was just
So-
drinking a lot of wine.
So they
That's
see it as kind
different.
of like an act of humility or something. Like, hey, I'm no different or nothing special. I'm just a ordinary alcoholic. Maybe they should just say that instead of garden variety.
I know. Why say the word garden variety? It just sounds so stupid.
It is stupid.
I know.
Oh my goodness.
What are
You
y'all
hear it
gonna
a
do?
lot. Well, I've heard it a lot. I don't know if y'all have heard it a lot, but
I've heard it a
I
lot.
feel a lot. That and Bozo on the bus, I hear it all the time. And I'm just like, stop.
and there's people that I actually really like and have looked up to that say both of them. It's like, I don't know. I'm not going to say it. I hope I've never said it, but Amy, are you going to keep it? Scrap it.
No, I'm scrapping that thing.
I'm scrapping it. Shank?
It's out of here.
Yes.
All right. Now listen, let's throw in this bonus one that we talked about.
Okay, what's the bonus?
AA will give you a life that will take you away from AA.
Did we not already do that one?
Did we do it?
I
we
don't know.
scrap it?
Maybe it's on the list.
She
I
means in
think you
another
said put it on the list.
in a previous episode. We may have covered it in a previous episode, but it just kind of popped in my mind when we were talking about this tradition. So, because you'll hear people in tradition meetings when they talk about AA and the sixth tradition and their personal life, they'll kind of reference that the drive for money, or having a job, getting a busy job, or going to school, or having a bunch of kids got them away from Alcoholics Anonymous. So, what do you think about that one?
I don't know. That one doesn't bother me. Because it's true. It does ring true to me. Like, I got busy. I had a kid. I got married. I did all the things. Although I still kept feet in, but not as in as I was. So I can see like personal experiences that yeah, AA did give me a life that kind of pulled me away a little bit. That one doesn't bother me either.
What do you think, Jerry?
Why does it bother
Well-
you so much?
Well, it might be true. It's just dumb to me. I mean, I don't know if it's true. Maybe your own selfishness and self-centeredness pulled you away from AA. I mean,
Mm.
AA didn't do it. AA didn't have an opinion.
Oh, well, we haven't gotten there yet, but
I understand the context of it. And
I don't-
probably
it
I've
just
u-
hasn't
I've-
happened for me yet. That's why I want to scrap it. Oh, wait a
I've-
minute.
I've used it.
Yeah.
Not personally. I've said it. I've said, well, I've seen this happen to other people.
Mhm.
I don't even like saying something, but I've been fortunate that I personally haven't done it. I mean, when my life's gotten busy, I've doubled down on stuff, probably to my fault, actually. But I mean, You see it happen to people,
Mhm.
but I don't know if AA did it.
But I don't think it's saying that AA did it,
No.
Jerry. It's saying the life did it, not AA. Mm.
Okay. Hey,
Mm.
I'm easily swayed sometimes. I'll give you one, Amy. Well, let me ask you this question. Is it something you would say in a meeting?
No,
Shank, would you say it?
no.
No.
It's out of here.
It's outta here.
No, I don't like saying any of these stupid things. They all sound
No.
so just
Yeah.
like just be real, you know?
Yeah.
I think that's
Yeah.
what it is it just seems so manufactured. And when I
Yes,
have said
that's-
things like this, it's because I heard someone else say it. And I'm like,
That's exactly what it is.
oh, that
You're
must be what I'm supposed to say in AA. I'm going to say
Yeah.
that.
That's exactly what it is.
Mhm.
It's a good way to
Alright.
put it, Shank. It's
That's a very
manufactured.
good way.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Scrap it.
All right. I'm
It's outta
scrapping.
here.
It's
Out of
gone.
here.
All right. Hey, don't let AA give you a life that'll take you away from AA. Oh my goodness. Amy, we appreciate you
day.
coming on and being with us.
Thanks for having me. This was fun.
It's been a good time and we appreciate your experience and your insights. Join us next week for Tradition 7. We're going to talk about money with Matt.
Can't
And
wait.
yeah, I can't wait. It's going to be a good one. In the meantime, be free.
Freedom.
Thanks for listening. If you have a comment, suggestion, or just need help, you can email Shank and Wayne at freedom@alcoholicsalive.com. Remember, we're recovered members of Alcoholics Anonymous, but we do not speak for Alcoholics Anonymous, nor do we get paid. Join us next week for another great episode.